sure I'm sitting next to poison ivy. Leaves of 3, leave them be, right? Oh, there was definitely something just like crawling through that. I have not seen a lizard here ever, so I don't know what that was. Today I want to talk about how to be a better friend. I have my notes here. And better friend in the sense of just things to consider and think about when you're asking yourself and contemplating how to show up for people that you care about, or just how to be a nourishing figure in their life. So I have my list and we're gonna go through it. The first thing I have to say is support. The first thing that comes to my mind is support with creative endeavors or new ventures, even if it's not creative. If someone is entering in a new job, if someone is deciding to try something for the first time, if someone is working on healing a certain aspect of themselves, being supportive. And that could look like words of affirmation, engaging with their content, or showing up to their art show, or maybe being a person who drives them to a medical appointment that could give them some news that might be hard to take in. Being there for them, basically, and being someone who uplifts and pours into their dreams and desires. Not being a source of doubt. If you need to be realistic, then be proactive in the process of collaborating and brainstorming with them instead of just telling them, oh, you can't do something. I experienced that in my own life, and this can go for family as well, being a better family member in any type of dynamic. But I think about a time when I was not a good friend and I was not supportive, and I regret it. And if I had this person in my life still today, and if we still were in contact with one another, I would honestly apologize, because I'm not proud of that. They had an idea of a type of brand they wanted to create, and a strategy that, to me, at that point in my life, with my limiting beliefs still reigning strong, I remember telling them, that's unrealistic. You need to come up with a more realistic strategy to get what you want. So it's not even that I was saying that she can't achieve what she wanted to achieve, but it was me just completely dismissing her idea. When realistically, if we want to be real about how life works and what is possible, I could have approached it from the sense of, all right, if that's the strategy you want to go with, let's really think through how to make sure it works and brainstorm, because it's only crazy until someone does it. It's really only crazy until someone does it. And she ended up continuing to pursue the things that she wanted to pursue. So I'm really thankful that my words did not deter her. But in reality, your words are strong and can create a deterrent or a stagnation or a delay in someone achieving their dreams or believing in their dreams. And that is powerful, and power needs to be wielded with discernment. And also remember, karma is real, so don't use that against someone. Don't be cruel, and don't let something like jealousy or your own self-doubts or your own limiting beliefs cause you to project that onto someone else. It is so beautiful out here. I'm just okay. I'm so grateful to find this little spot. All right, the next point is pouring life into them, even if it doesn't look like they need it. So this kind of goes into the last part. Sometimes we can have a friend who's confident. Sometimes we can have a friend who's always making other people laugh. We can have a friend who always seems like they're in a good mood. But those people especially still need someone to pour into them, still need and benefit from receiving compliments or motivational speeches. If you have a friend who's always uplifting you and pouring into you and speaking life into the things you want to do, no matter how crazy it may be, I promise you they need the same. They may not ask for it, they may not say it, and they may still do the things that they want to do despite not having it. But I want you to think about, if someone is a little kindling and then you pour some gasoline on it, it is going to grow exponentially. But imagine someone who is already a fire large enough to roast veggies or a pig, um, and then you add gasoline to that. How much further can you push that person? Because realistically, life is not about being in the same place as those around you. It's not about comparing yourself to someone else's journey or timeline. It's about focusing on your own and going as far as you can with the resources that you have, with the drive that you have, with the vision that you have, and pouring in to someone else through words who pours into you. So it's not like you're giving to not receive back, but you're already receiving this. So to pour back into them, it's just gonna help you both grow, help you both develop. And honestly, the more these people who are constantly pouring into other people are poured into, the more they're gonna have to give back. So it's really a beautiful symbiotic relationship. And it's not about what can you get back, but it's more just to say that it's not like it's going to affect you negatively to speak life into someone. And you never know who needs to hear it and when they need to hear it. And yeah. The other part is randomly checking in a serious way. So oftentimes people may be like, hey, how you doing? You doing good? Just checking in. But like, how often have you actually gone after receiving the typical, I'm good, I'm doing okay, I'm fine, like the most basic response, even if it is like, it's been a little hard, but we're good. Who has actually taken the time, like, think about you and yourself to pry further and ask them, like, no, like let's talk about that. Do you want to talk about it? And asking questions and follow-up questions, because I know it may not work for everyone, but I feel like a lot of people can benefit from just talking through what they're feeling with a trusted source, obviously. And yeah, that's what therapy's for. But realistically, everyone don't got therapy, and everyone does not have access to therapy, despite some of these popular advertisements who are now problematic. But we're not here to talk about that. Yeah. And I think with that conversation, holding space for that person in the way that you can, and the way that you know how, with the tools that you have, that can literally just be sitting there looking at someone and listening to them, and saying, you know what, I can understand why that would feel that way. Or is there anything I can do to like lighten your load? Or is there any way that I can help make this easier for you? Or maybe even taking the mental load off of them having to even think of that, and saying like, would it help if I X, Y, and Z? Like if a friend that you care for is going through a really rough time, if they're having a lot going on in their personal life, they're busy at work, they're trying to go after all these goals, and you're hanging out for the evening at their house, maybe be like, and they're hosting you, right? Maybe be like, actually, would it be easier if I cook dinner, if I help you with this, or do you want to do some laundry together? Like, it's still bonding. You watch a show and do some laundry and chat and catch up, versus like just chatting and catching up. It's just that community aspect of figuring out how can you show up for people, and how can you create ease in their day, and as a result as well, how can they create ease in your day. It should be a back and forth shared thing. Like, I'm not saying for anyone to like do all of this and then have to be left at the end of the day or the end of the week or the end of the month still filling up your own cup and not receiving anything back. Like, obviously have your discernment, have your boundaries energetically, physically, and mentally. But yeah, the next part I have is expressing emotions and boundaries. What we just talked about. But I think especially now, we live in this day and age where so many people are in this space of, if someone does something I don't like, I'm cutting them off. They're not in my life anymore, especially with friendships. And the reality of friendships is just like a romantic relationship. They are work. You're entering another person's life, and yes, you can meet someone and it feel like, oh my gosh, it's feel like I've known this person for my whole life. We just mesh together. But there's going to be hiccups. And I've had my fair share of something happening and just immediately being like, no. But there's also times when that might be necessary, But then you miss out on extending people grace for their own growth, by being able to share with them, like, hey, you did this thing and it made me feel this way. And also, just because someone shares with you that you impacted them in a way that hurt them, it doesn't mean you're a bad person. It is simply giving you context about that person. You're going to have to dedicate some time or some energy to understanding another person and kind of what kind of love they receive and what kind of love makes them feel seen, heard, and appreciated, supported during tough times. And that comes through trial and error, but it also comes through honest conversation during that trial and error. This is bothering me. But yeah, you really have to reflect and think about that stuff. I have a best friend, and we've had plenty of conversations over the years where we have had to adjust and readjust because people fluctuate and change as well. So something that worked when you first met someone may no longer be beneficial for them 5 years down the road. You know, when life happens, when a person has grown and healed in certain aspects, even some things may not even be necessary to do anymore. Like, that's why that constant revisitation of, with curiosity, how can I be a better friend for you? Do you feel supported? Why or why not? When this thing happened, how did that make you feel? Do you wish I would have done something differently? Yeah. Yeah. The next point I have is honoring where they are while still respecting yourself. This ties back into boundaries, but also when you think about timelines and personal growth and healing, everyone has a different way of expressing themselves, and everyone has a different way in which that manifests. Everyone's going to have different triggers, everyone's going to have different traumas, everyone's going to have different personalities, ways of speaking, all that stuff, right? And you may be at a point of one type of resolution or one type of action comes naturally and easy for you, and you know, it just is like that. And for someone else, like, that may not be the case. Like, maybe they are still in a traumatic response, and you have to use your discernment here and kind of apply it how it applies and decide if it's a toxic situation or if it's someone just really getting caught up in an emotion. Because I'm not at all trying to say, like, you should be mistreated and you should be doing all of the mental and emotional labor and just deal with that and accept the person where they are. There has to be a sense of growth there, or at least the willingness to have a conversation, to hear out the other person, and to try to, like, meet them where they are, right? No one should be, like, completely going the other way unless it's, like, some really extreme case. But hold on, I'm supposed to get something. It's making me nervous. Okay, we're good. There's some strong energy in this area. I will say that. I'm glad I brought Cosmo. I would have been scared by myself. Okay, and we have 2 more hours till the sunset, so we're good. We're good. Okay. All right. The next thing I want to say is being honest with them even when it's uncomfortable, which truthfully aligns with the previous point. But in order to facilitate that understanding and honestly that fluency in how to love someone, you got to be honest. You got to be honest even when you don't know what the result's going to be. I feel like we really like the assurity of knowing how something is going to turn out, and that's just not realistic. Humans are so unpredictable, and even when you think you have someone figured out, they can throw you a curveball in any moment. But yeah. All right, another thing is pay attention and be curious about them. Part of learning is being observant. Part of learning is being able to see the fluctuations, and this comes with time. Like, I'm not gonna say you can know someone for a month or even a year and be fluent in all of their ways of being. I have a friend that we've been friends for, we're approaching a decade. I've talked about them before. We still learn things about each other, and as people grow as well and change and develop and heal certain parts of themselves and learn other parts of themselves, right? they're gonna be constantly changing. And I think curiosity is one of the ways to make it more of a fun process versus like feeling like it's taxing. It's so, with the narratives out there now and the mindsets that exist, it's so easy to see these things I'm mentioning as like taxing, when in reality it's a component of, my heart sunk. I saw something, but then I was like, oh, it's a man on a bike, we're good. He was just wearing all black and moving really fast, so I was like, it was like through trees, and I was like, what is happening right now? I was like, ain't no way. Cosmo. But yeah. Do you want some water? Let me wet my whistle. So, what was I saying? Being curious. Yeah, they're all an aspect of community. Showing up and being inconvenienced. I'm pretty sure I talked about that in a video that was not that long ago. Maybe like 2 videos ago. And there was this YouTube video about a girl talking about basically how the Western world, America, US, loves versus other parts of the world, and how it's so starkly different because people are they so easily feel inconvenienced by the basic components of building a connection with someone and nourishing that connection, and showing up for people in ways that in other parts of the world they don't even think twice about. So I think that's really interesting. But also, next point is self-awareness. Self-awareness on how you could be better, or again, just ask them. But with this being curious, with this facilitating conversations, with this paying attention to the other person, and emotional intelligence plays a big role, because if you're not at least familiar with reading the emotions of another person and kind of being able to see things from a bird's eye view or another person's point of view, I think it will greatly cloud your ability to be self-aware and understanding and empathetic. I'm not saying that you have to agree with what someone else does, but when you are able to, at the very least, reflect on something after the fact and come to a point of recognizing and understanding, oh, this may have been how it felt from their perspective. And then also you take in the things that you've learned about this person over time, their triggers, their traumas, and then think about how that played a role. It allows you to then approach being in that person's life with a more well-rounded understanding of who they are and how to love them and how to interact with them. And then my next point is, this one, yes. Okay, sometimes a united front isn't just for romantic partnerships. I'm going to read what I additionally wrote. I said, there is a difference in confronting someone you trust for an outside POV versus shit-talking a friend to validate your own POV and emotions. Give yourself time to sit with your emotions and honestly reflect with self-awareness, detached from your ego. Yeah, I feel like that is what it is, but we often feel like there has to be like this unwavering loyalty only to a romantic partner. But if you and your best friend go out and hang out with a group of people, and it's, I don't know, like people maybe you're just meeting, or maybe you've only hung out a few times, it does no one good to throw them under the bus or try to make yourself look better or bring up a conflict you guys had just because other people are around. It weakens your friendship, it weakens your bond, and it weakens the potential of what's up? What's up? Of true, genuine love that can form. I'm getting the heebie-jeebies. The last thing is accommodate, which is back to boundaries. Accommodate in fluctuations. How, like, you can even think about like cycle syncing too. Think about how are the if you don't cycle sync, the kind of like mental thought behind it. Your body changes and goes through different emotions and things over time. So, and you accommodate for that with the things you eat, the way you treat yourself, the expectations of your workouts, how you understand your emotional being to be and your sensitivity levels. The same is for your friends. And also, they have a whole life that is going on. And yeah, these are all just things to consider and think about. And I do want to acknowledge that this can be a process. If I were to look at myself 5 years ago, I wouldn't say I was embodying all of these characteristics. It took time to even understand why it's a necessity to embody these characteristics and connections. And it also took time to cultivate the energy and the desire to want to do all of those things. To be honest, like, so if this is something that you've listened to and you're just like, oh, that just sounds like a buttload of work, it might. But when you think about it, I bet you it would be worth it. Like, when you think about the nourishment that can come out of your friendships or relationships or your family dynamics when these things are being integrated, or even some of these things are being integrated on both sides, like, I definitely think it's worth it to put in that energy. So yeah, I would love to hear any more, I was gonna say tips, but more like little tidbits of how to be a nourishing and good friend from you guys. And other than that, I hope you guys are having a wonderful Earth Day. You'll be seeing this after Earth Day, so I hope you had a good Earth Day and enjoy seeing clips of this beautiful environment. I hope you guys stay blessed. And Cosmo says, peace out. Cosmo! Psst, psst, psst. Cosmo!